Hello, beautiful. What a wonderful coincidence. I didn't expect us to meet again. Anthony sat on a sofa in the lobby, staring at the elevator doors and waiting. Nora was irritated. She knew he didn't recognize her, and it was all a long time ago, but they'd annulled their engagement. Why was this guy suddenly showing up everywhere she went? Anthony didn't notice her annoyance and said with a smile, "It seems like we're destined to be. Surely you'll tell me your name." Nora narrowed her eyes. She hadn't intended to pay any attention to him, but then she thought of how he'd been in the delivery room when she'd given birth. He must remember something about what had happened. Perhaps she could sound him out. Isabel Anderson. Anderson was her mother's surname. Anthony's eyes lit up. "Are you free, Miss Anderson? How about a coffee? There's a cafe next door." She nodded in agreement, and he eagerly set off. "Just this way, Miss Anderson. By the way, where's your sister?" She frowned slightly. "My sister?" "Yes, that little girl with you at the airport yesterday. You only look about 20. You can't possibly have a daughter that age, right?" He clearly thought he was being charming. Nora kept quiet. She couldn't explain and risk revealing who she was. "It's just as well she's not here. She won't bother us. The cakes from the cafe are pretty good. You can bring some back for her." The way to impress a woman is to please everyone around her, thought Anthony smugly. Nearby, Justin, who'd been inspecting the hotel, stared at them coldly. Behind him, Lawrence, his assistant, sneered. "That woman's too much, Mr. Hunt. Never mind that she deliberately approached Pete to meet you. Now she's flirting with someone else. What is she up to?" And she referred to her daughter as her sister when she was lying to that man. "I don't see her putting in that much effort when she was lying to you." Justin's expression darkened. A sharp look flashed across his deep-set eyes, and the temperature of the entire lobby seemed to drop a few degrees. He said frostily, "Look her up." "Yes, sir." After walking into the cafe, Nora found a table by the window. She quickly turned the topic of conversation to Anthony's engagement. He was keen to explain himself. "I'm not really a scumbag, Miss Anderson. You don't know how ugly she was. Her face was so fat you could barely see her eyes. When she walked, it was like the whole place shook. But the worst of it was she ended up pregnant with another man's child. How could I possibly marry her? I didn't trust her." Nora drifted off as she listened to him. Well, the tables had turned now, hadn't they? Little did Anthony know how successful she'd become. She just needed to get her son back, and her life would be complete. I really hated the Smiths' behaviour. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be humouring Angela now either. Anthony realised he'd said too much, so he quickly changed the subject, looking flustered. "Oh, why am I saying such things? Where are you from, Miss Anderson?" Nora made up an answer. "New York." "The Andersons from New York?" Anthony swallowed hard. That was a powerful family, even more so than the Hunts. Anthony was impressed. He fawned over her even more. "I didn't realize you came from such a wealthy family. No wonder you're so elegant and charming." Nora ignored his attempt at a compliment and continued to sound him out. "I heard that your fiancé gave birth to a child 5 years ago, but it was abandoned. I'm really curious. Where did that child go?" Anthony was dismissive. "That's just a rumour, Miss Anderson. No one was abandoned. My fiancé took the child abroad." What the Smiths had announced publicly at the time was that Nora had given birth to a baby girl. They hadn't mentioned that she'd actually had twins. After all, they'd been ostracised and humiliated if anyone knew they'd done something like abandoning a newborn infant. Image was far too important to them for anyone to find out what had really happened. Nora scoffed. "I'm just curious. Since you don't want to tell me, forget it." She slammed her cup down on the table and pretended she was getting up to leave, acting like a spoiled princess. It had the desired effect. Anthony panicked and reached out to grab her. "That's not what I meant. Don't get mad." Nora evaded him and raised an eyebrow. "So are you going to answer me or not?" Her behaviour didn't make him suspicious. After all, secrets and rumours about wealthy families were common topics of gossip. He spoke reluctantly. "Uncle Henry Smith, was the one who handled all that back then. I really don't know anything." Nora believed that Anthony didn't know the truth. Even though he'd been there at the time, it must have been hidden from him somehow. He was of no further use to her. She got up and walked out. He watched in astonishment for a moment, but then he pushed his chair back and went after her. I'm telling the truth, Miss Anderson. Why don't you give me your number? We can contact... I don't think so. Nora got in a taxi and left him standing there, confused. Are all women from super rich families that volatile? His expression darkened. Nora contacted some private investigators she knew in California to look for more information. It was evening when she finally dragged herself back to the hotel, exhausted. As soon as she opened the door to her room, she heard Cherry's side of an involved online conversation with another child. The princess is here. Everyone step aside. You're to escort her. Okay. Do you want to try my cannon? Hey, silly. Tank the damage from the defensive tower. Go. I'm out of health points. Hey, why are you running? Tank the damage for me and I'll be able to get the 5 kills. I'll die. Oh, come on, you wuss. It's only a game. What are you so afraid of? Who's that kid she's playing with, though?
Has Nora's busy lifestyle exposed Cherry to more dangers? To know more, listen to the next episode. Or install the Pocket FM audio app and listen to the entire series. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.